Good afternoon and welcome to the February 9, 2024 meeting of the Rotary Club of Beavercreek. I want to thank Brandon and O'Shaughnessy for being our greeters. Thanks to David Brandenburg for being our ticket master, Beth Handworker for getting us set up for our program today. Our program committee, Pete Bales, Mark Weinstein, and Mike Swig for our great programs, and of course Jim Gundel for taking care of our website. I'd like to invite Denny up to give us our invocation.
Well, good afternoon. Please join me in prayer. Oh, Holy Creator, may those assembled here today enjoy the many offerings of Rotary. May we abide by the rules we have established, those of trust, fellowship, and ethics, and may we place service above self in our daily endeavors. And may we always test ourselves and our efforts to be sure they are the truth, good for all concerned, benefit to mankind, and provide peace and understanding. Amen.
Thank you, Denny. All right, we are going to start out with one of our club's favorite things, the induction of a new member. Brian Lampton, please come over.
Well, my fellow Rotarians, good to see everyone this beautiful Friday. Pleased to introduce a new inductee to our club, Melissa Quinn. Please stand and be recognized. Melissa was born in Indianapolis, Indiana. She moved to Chicago, Toledo, and then at the age of 14, landed in Cincinnati. Oh, you have to stay standing, sweetheart. I'll let you know. Graduated from Loveland High School and played softball, basketball, and soccer. She studied graphic design at UC and NKU. She moved around a lot, not due to the military, but her father worked for AT&T. She has two Beavercreek Rotary connections. First, her sponsor, the lovely and talented Sandy Brubaker. And the other is where she is at her current employer, SOCAG. And you guys will all remember Colonel, AKA Dr. Cassie Barlow, who runs that organization. She recruited Melissa to join them. How long ago?
A year ago.
So 1 whole year. Melissa is the program manager for the Strategic Ohio Council for Higher Education. She's 20 years of program management experience. She used to be into cycling, competitive cycling. She learned a lot about teamwork. She also enjoys just about anything outdoors. Now, this one I found very interesting. Her dream is to own and operate a mini farm. So she basically doesn't want 100 acres. She kind of wants 5 or 6, but have all the things that a 100-acre farm would have: chickens and cows and things like that. Yeah, a miniature or a mini farm, not miniature animals, regular size. We had to explain it. Her son Ethan is age 21, and her daughter Kylie is 18. Kylie is attending UC for clarinet performance. Her Rotary sponsor is Sandy Brubaker, and she will be pinned by Sandy. Now, Melissa, you may be seated. These words apply to not only our new inductee, but to all of us. Membership in Rotary is a privilege. Members are given the opportunity to become more involved in the community and provide aid to all parts of the world. Involvement is the key to getting the most out of your membership. Volunteers serve on a committee. These activities will help you get to know your fellow Rotarians, and then also learning, developing leadership and organizational skills. The Beavercreek Rotary is the club of choice for those who make Beavercreek the wonderful community it is today. Now, Rotary members are expected to attend our regular meetings and make up by visiting neighboring Rotary clubs. For example, Xenia meets on Wednesdays, or Tuesday at noon. Fairborn meets on Wednesdays. Oakwood, I believe, still meets at Monday morning if you're an early bird. I don't know where they meet, but it's early. We also expect a prompt response to your quarterly invoice and participation in the Paul Harris Fellow Program. But most importantly, please get involved in our club activities. Leaders are doers, not watchers. We have many opportunities to serve with the club, projects like our annual dictionary with going to have a new name soon project, our Christmas basket delivery, popcorn festival, golf outing, student exchange, pancake breakfast, and of course, service on our board. We also recognize and award our members for perfect attendance and participation in the Paul Harris Fellow Program. Past presidents of our club. Okay, yeah, and we also recognize service of our board of directors. So perfect attendance means you attend every meeting or you make up when you can't make Friday noon. Paul Harris Fellows are recognized by having donated $1,000 to the or more to the annual programs fund. Some Rotarians have achieved multiple Paul Harris awards. Membership in Rotary is indeed an honor and a privilege. Treat it with respect and dignity. Wear your Rotary pin everywhere with pride. But most importantly, practice the principles and value of Rotary in your daily business and personal life. The motto of Rotary is service above self. We expect that you'll be involved in our club. That's why Sandy asked you to join. Rotarians are leaders. They have a desire to improve our community and the world around us. So at this time, Melissa and Sandy, please come forward. Sandy has your Rotary pin.
Oh, yeah, I can get out of there.
I don't need to be in the picture.
One more step. There you go. Look at me.
Go ahead.
All right, go ahead and better.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our newest Rotarian, Melissa Quinn.
Melissa is followed by that paparazzi all the time. Secretary's report, Joe Jenkins.
Yeah, we're at 59%. We have a couple guests today. One from Vandalia, Gregory, where you at? There you go.
Visiting Rotarian from Vandalia and has a physical therapy office in Vandalia and here in Beavercreek. Thanks for joining us. Who else we got?
Chuck has his.
Mr. Curran. Hi, Mara. How are you today? Welcome. All right.
And then Shannon has, Abby and Andrew.
Welcome, guys. All right. Don Adams, come on down. Gonna spoil him. Oh, we have another guest.
Oh.
Who we got?
You wanna tell what your name is? Take one more time.
Come on, say it loud.
Don't be shy. You do it, it's Luciano.
Gianna, welcome.
Thanks, sir. Good afternoon. Today is February 9th. It is the 40th day of the year. It's amazing how it just changed the calendar. Here we are 40 days ago. We celebrate a few things today. International Winter Bike to Work Day. National Bagels and Lox Day. National Cut to Cord Day. National Develop Alternative Vices Day. National Pizza Day. National Toothache Day. No One Eats Alone Day. And Read in the Bathtub Day. Which could be dangerous if you forget to unplug your iPad. We also celebrate this week American Camp Day, Boy Scout Anniversary Week. Dump your significant jerk week. Getting dizzy week. Have a heart for chained dogs week. Let's prefer not to change. International Networking Day or month. Love makes the world go round, but laughter keeps us from getting dizzy week. And National Crime Prevention Week. On this day in history, in 1775, the British Parliament declared Massachusetts colony was in rebellion. In 1861, Jefferson Davis and Alexander Stephens elected president and vice president of the Confederate States of America. In 1870, and I didn't know this, the U.S. Army established the U.S. National Weather Service. I didn't know the Army did that. In 1942, daylight savings wartime went into effect again. They actually had that in World War I and repealed it again after World War II, and then in 1966, they gave us the dreaded daylight savings time. So they should repeal it, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
In 1942, Glenn Miller was awarded the first ever gold record for selling 1 million copies of Chapman the Choo Choo. And in 1943, the U.S. President Franklin D. Roosevelt signed an executive order setting a minimum 48-hour work week in the number of critical war industries. So, in 1950, Senator Joseph McCarthy charged State Department was invested with 205 communists. In 1955, and I'm sure David will, whatever he went, will be glad for this, the U.S. Federation of Trade Unions merged into AFL-CIO. In 1963, the first test flight of a Boeing 727 jet was done. And I'm sure all, or a lot of us in here remember this one, 1964, the first appearance of the Beatles on the Ed Sullivan Show. There were 73.7 million television viewers that night. 1969 was the first flight of the Boeing 747. And in 1971, Satchel Paige became the first Negro League player elected to the Baseball Hall of Fame. Happenings in our club this past week. Apparently, according to Jack TV, nothing happened in our club last week. I decided to come back with a couple of stupid laws again from different states. In New Jersey, it's illegal to delay or detain homing pitching. In New Jersey, it's also illegal to slurp soup. It's against the law for a man to knit during the fishing season. It's against the law to frown at a police officer. There's a whole lot more than that now. It's illegal to sell ice cream after 6 p.m. unless the customer has a note from his doctor. This is New Jersey, still New Jersey. And I know this to be a fact because I've been in New Jersey. You cannot pump your own gas there. Never has to do that. In New York, there's a fine of $25 that can be levied for flirting. And a license must be obtained before hanging clothes on a clothesline. In Carmel, New York, a man cannot go outside while wearing a jacket and pants that do not match. And citizens may not greet each other by putting one's thumb on the nose and wiggling their fingers. On Staten Island, you may only water your lawn if the hose is being held in your hand. In North Carolina, there's the fights between cats and dogs that are prohibited. Try to stop that one. Elephants may not be used, this is still in North Carolina. Elephants may not be used to plow cotton fields. In Asheville, North Carolina, it's illegal to sneeze on city streets. And in Kill Devil Hills, you may not ride a bicycle without having both your hands on the handlebars. But said every time I yell at and get angry at you, you never fight back. How do you manage your anger? The wife said, I clean the toilet seat. How does that help? You use your toothbrush. There was a sailor that didn't like anything he saw in the mess hall and the food line, so he just picked up a large piece of chocolate cake. Cook asked, is that all you're gonna eat? The sailor said, yes. The rest of it doesn't look too appetizing. The cook smiled and said, well, in that case, would you like 2 pieces of cake? The sailor said, well, yeah, man, I'd appreciate that. The cook leaned over and cut the sailor's piece of cake in half. You know the very guys, that probably sounds familiar. There were 2 businessmen that walked into a diner in the countryside. They had decided to stop there for lunch, so without ordering anything, they sat down and took out their sandwiches that they carried with them and began to eat them. The waitress sees this and says to them, you can't eat your own sandwiches in here. So the businessmen looked at each other, shrugged, and swapped sandwiches. There was a customer walking into a bar and said, I'll have a pint of less, please. Less, queried the bartender, what's that? I don't know either, said the customer, but my doctor told me to drink less. At a 10-year-old's request, I loaded my Rolling Stones tunes onto his iPod. I had no idea you liked the Stones, I said. Sure, I like old-fashioned music, he said. What do you mean, old-fashioned music? You know, he said defensively, music from the 1900s. Then there was Maurice, who's an 82-year-old man who went to the doctor for a physical. A few days later, a doctor saw Maurice walking down the street with a gorgeous young lady on his arm. A couple of days later, the doctor spoke to Maurice and said, you're really doing great, aren't you? And Maurice replied, just doing what you said, Doc. Get a hot mama and be cheerful. The doctor said, no, I did not say that. I said, you got a heartburn, be careful. I was getting into my car when I noticed a dent. On the windshield was a note and a phone number from the driver. I feel terrible, the woman apologized when I called. I hit your car while I was pulling into the parking spot next to it. Please don't worry, I said. I'm sure our insurance companies will take care of everything. Thank you for understanding, she said. You're so much nicer than the man I hit on the way out. This week we got our puppies. I caught a stomach bug and stayed home from work one day, and that afternoon my wife called to check on me. I'm okay, I said, but guess who pooped in the dining room? My wife's response, who? Then there were 2 men that were in a bar getting drunk. Suddenly one of them threw up all over himself. He says, oh no, now my wife will kill me. His friend said, don't worry, just tuck a $20 bill in your breast pocket and tell your wife that someone threw up on you and gave you $20 for the cleaning bill. So they stay another couple hours and get even drunker. Eventually he reels home. His wife starts to give him a bad time. He says, you reek of alcohol and you've thrown up all over yourself. You're disgusting. Speaking very carefully so as not to slur, he says, wait, it's not what you think. I only had 1 drink. This man got sick on me. He obviously had 1 too many or else he just couldn't hold his liquor. He was very sorry he gave me $20 for the cleaning bill. Look in my breast pocket. She looks in her breast pocket and says, but there's $40 in there. Oh, yes, said the man, he beat my pants too. I'll leave you with a couple of quotes for the day. The reason why we struggle with insecurity is because we compare our behind the scenes with everyone else's highlight reel. Every day the clock resets, your wins don't matter. Your failures don't matter. Don't stress on what was, fight for what could be. Today's fines. If you had a pizza in the last week, that's $1. If you listen to Glenn Miller, and I know there's somebody in here that did, that's $1. If you work for a union, that's $1. If you watch the Beatles on Ed Sullivan, that's $1. If you had a toothache, that's $1. If you were a Boy Scout, that's $1. And if you're not wearing your Rotary pin, that's $1. Dave?
Okay, who's got happy bucks? John,
I'll give a happy buck, Full Falls here. They were one of our charities at the credit union. We've been working together for many, many years. And, it's always fun to, occasionally walk in and see all those dogs running around your office. And it really is. I know you guys are gonna enjoy the presentation. We are so happy and thankful to be part of their organization.
nice. All right, well. Eric,
Yeah, I've got a big happy buck. I'm talking to my daughter in Columbus yesterday. And she informed me that her daughter, or my granddaughter, has been elected or accepted into the National Honor Society over there. And the funny part is, she didn't find out, my daughter didn't find out until about a couple days later when Stella came home from school. She said, well, how was your day? Oh, okay. And in the next 2 or 3 minutes, it came out in the conversation. Yeah, they told me I was going to join the National Honor Society.
all right.
Low key tip.
There you go. Other happy bucks. Well, I will give a happy buck for a report. So we have both our municipal judges here. I'll give a happy buck for a report from our newest municipal judge on how things are going over in Fairmont.
Right.
Excellent report. Always like a judge who values brevity. All right. Any other happy bucks? Any announcements?
I'll do an announcement, happy bug. Beavercreek, won both games they played last weekend. They're starting in the championships. They have to play Troy again on Saturday. And so they're playing at 6 o'clock. I know the 10 o'clock games are late for a lot of you guys. It's Heather Rec Center. It doesn't cost any money. So, good time to show some support, and really it'll be a crazy intense game. So if you've not been out to see a hockey game, this would be one that would be entertaining.
Okay. Anything else? All right, drawing for our 50-50 raffle, which is really low on cards and high on money. Our half, the club half, goes to our Christmas basket project. For the chance to draw for the Queen of Hearts, you need number 338756. Bob Fitzroy. Queen of Hearts. Eight of spades, some hot throws. Not quite the Queen of Hearts at bowling alley, but okay. Right. Well, today we're fortunate to have the development director for Four Paws for Ability, Caitlin Clark, and she brought a guest. She's been with Four Paws for 6 years. She started as a director of volunteer engagement, and leading up to her time there, she started out in Lima, Ohio, and after high school, she went to Grace College in Indiana. There she studied counseling and criminal justice. She's been down in our greater Dayton area for about 10 years, currently lives in Huber Heights with her husband, who's Chad.
Yes.
And Chad's an associate dean of student success at the United Theological Seminary in Stroudsburg. She's been in nonprofits before this, mostly in volunteer organization, and she is here with her guest to tell us about Four Paws for Ability. So please welcome Caitlin Clark.
Say something, introduce yourself. Yeah. Yeah.
Everyone, Thank you so much, Dave, for that introduction. My name is Kaylin, and this is my guest here, Bear. He is a 9-month-old golden doodle service dog in training at 4 Paws for Ability. So, go ahead and advance to the next slide. This is a short little video before I kind of do a deep dive into everything there is to know about 4 Paws. It doesn't work, that's okay too. 2013. Small one.
Yeah. Earlier. That's the way that's not. Sorry.
No problem, no problem. You can just go to the next slide then. So hopefully many of you are familiar with 4 Paws for Abilities. We're just down the road. A little bit about our history. Our founder, Karen Shirk, actually has a rare form of muscular dystrophy. And back in the early 90s, she was trying to find a service dog agency to get a service dog to help her. And she was not able to find anybody willing to place a service dog with her. She was told that she was too disabled for a service dog, which is crazy. And Karen didn't like that very much, and she actually found a trainer to help her train a service dog for her needs. And then this idea for 4 Paws was kind of born, that there were probably others out there also being denied the right to a service dog. So back in the early 90s, a majority of those being denied were children, because it was always thought that in order to receive the tasks from a service dog, you had to be the direct handler of the dog. So 4 Paws, what we did, we spearheaded this 3-unit team where mom or dad or the guardian is the one who is handling the service dog, who is task trained for a child, but the dog is helping that child. And so that allowed us to now place service dogs with children of any age. And that continues to be true to today. So now, instead of children having to wait until they're older, they're not able to have a service dog with them during these crucial developmental years. So that was back in 1998 when 4 Paws was first started. We placed 6 dogs that very first year. So fast forward, we're on our 26th year of training and placing service dogs with children and veterans with disabilities. And we are getting ready to place our 2,000th service dog in November, which is incredible. So we do 120 service dogs every single year. A majority of them are being placed with children. We also have a local program just for our local veterans for service dogs as well. Our children's program is what really is bringing people from all over the continent. Yes, you heard me correctly. We've had people come from Mexico and Canada, to little tiny Xenia, Ohio, to get a service dog from us. And the reason that is, again, is because they've been told no by other service dog agencies for having a child who's too young. So 4 Paws, we are so happy to be able to stand in that gap and offer the services that families are so desperately seeking out. Kind of went out of order there, but we're going to go to the next slide. I think it's really important to explain exactly what a service dog is. That's what we do at 4 Paws. A service animal means any dog that is individually trained to do work or perform tasks for the benefit of an individual with a disability. including a physical, sensory, psychiatric, intellectual, or other mental disability. And that is straight from the Americans with Disability Act. So you're probably familiar with like an emotional support animal, a therapy animal. So service dogs are their own category. They are their only type of dog who is specifically task trained to mitigate a disability, and that gives them public access rights, where an emotional support animal or therapy animal, they do not have that kind of training to mitigate a disability, and they do not have public access. So that is what we do at Fort Pond. Thank you. So a little bit about how we raise and train a service dog. All of our dogs are bred at Four Paws. We have our very own breeding program where all of our mom dogs and dad dogs live with volunteers full time. And that allows us to know that we're breeding the best of the best dogs. They undergo cardio testing, hips, elbows, great temperaments. And it also allows us to start training when the puppies are just 3 days old. So literally their whole lives, they're training to be a service dog. We do what's called biosensor. You see the cute little puppy covered in some dog food there. But it's a lot of handling of the puppy at an early age. It's a lot of getting them used to different temperatures and textures and holding them in different positions even. And then at 4 weeks old, they start our puppy enrichment program, which is like puppy kindergarten. It's learning basic obedience commands. It's being introduced to different objects that dogs may be afraid of later in life, like a balloon, a vacuum, a mirror, just anything you can think of. Our puppies are getting introduced to it in our puppy enrichment program, which is ran heavily by volunteers. It's a really hard job. Imagine that, just coming in and working with these puppies. And then at 8 weeks old, all of our service dogs in training enter this kind of like socializing phase where they live with volunteers full time. So these volunteers, we have hundreds of them to ensure that we have enough support for our program. They might be on college campuses. We have 20 colleges that we partner with, the University of Kentucky actually being our largest, with 80 of our service dogs in training living on their campus with students. We have 4 prisons that we work with. And then we just have individuals and families within about a 3-hour radius of Four Paws who foster for us. And as a foster, our biggest goal, I'm also a foster myself, is taking this service dog in training out in public, meeting new people, going new places, and just building their confidence, because that's what makes a really great service dog. And then when they're about a year old, they'll come back to Four Paws, and we have 12 professional dog trainers who do the task training for the dog. So at this point, our trainers have decided the dog's strengths, their natural abilities, and they can see our upcoming children or veterans who are getting a service dog from us and what tasks they need from our dogs. And they'll start training that specific dog for those specific tasks. So that can take about 6 months, depending on how many tasks that dog is learning. And then the dog is ready to become a service dog officially. So the family will come to Four Paws every single month. We have 10 families who come, stay for 10 days with us, and they work one-on-one with our trainers to learn everything about their brand new service dog. And at the end of the 10 days, we have a graduation celebration. You're all invited to come. They're open to the public. Bring some tissues though. And we celebrate these new service dog teams, and they all get to go home after that. So the dogs are about 2 years old when they're placed as a service dog. We can go ahead. So our dogs they can be trained for a variety of tasks, and these tasks can help children and veterans who have different diagnoses such as autism, so a dog can be trained to track the child if they have elopement tendencies, which is very common, unfortunately, for children who have autism, where they run away. And some children with autism are also nonverbal. So even if they ran and were found, then they wouldn't be able to tell somebody who their parents were or where they live. So our dogs are trained to track that child from scent to go and find them, which is just incredible life-saving stories that we've heard from our families. They're also trained for behavior disruption for a child who has meltdowns or outbursts. The dog can lay across the child's lap and apply deep pressure like a weighted blanket. So really calming and soothing, and something they're not trained for, but just naturally happens, is the dogs. They're great social bridges. So when I walked in today and walking around the room, I noticed eyes are on me, they're on him, which is as expected. Dogs have a way of just drawing people in, which a child with a disability can be hard to make friends with your peers. But now with a dog, you're the coolest kid at recess and have that social bridge. We also have seizure assisted. So for a child who may have a seizure disorder like epilepsy, the dogs are trained again for that scent work, where the families actually mail in shirts that their child was wearing when they have a seizure. And our trainers will teach the dog that unique smell to alert to it before the seizure happens. So we can't smell it as people, but the dogs can. And they'll also alert to a seizure when it's actively happening. So whether it be like a drop seizure or whatever that motion looks like, our families actually send in videos so our trainers can replicate that. And that, as you can imagine, families who aren't sleeping at night because they always have to watch their child who may have a seizure and not wake up in the morning. Now they finally have this peace of mind that the service dog is sleeping with their child and will bark alert if that were to happen, and then mom and dad can be right there to keep their child safe. Very similar to seizure assistance is diabetic alert. So for a child who has diabetes, instead of a shirt, they send in inside their cheek the different sugar level scent. We can train the dog for that to alert. Mobility assistance is actually kind of pictured here, where a dog is holding or wearing a brace for his little girl to hold on to for some extra support. And the dog can also jump up and hit handicap buttons, picked up dropped items. So again, just giving some independence back to that child or a veteran. Hearing ear for a child or veteran who has hearing loss, knock at the door, a doorbell, the dog can alert to that, smoke alarm going off in the middle of the night. And then something else unique about 4Paws is we understand that disabilities can be complicated and a dog might need to be trained for multiple tasks. And that's something that we can do at 4Paws. And then also being able to help our veterans for any kind of mobility needs they may have as well. Next slide. Oh, this is a video too, is it? Oh, I'm gonna plug it. Ooh, all right. Yeah. So I didn't mean to be like high, that was called high needs. Which one? Okay, so this is a short little video about one of our kiddos who recently received a seizure alert dog from us.
Blake was almost 3. He had a younger brother who had just been shortly before that. And we put younger brother to bed one night, and within like 2 minutes or so, probably, he heard this like moaning cry on the monitor. And so we thought it was baby brother at first. So we went in, checked on baby, and went into Blake's room, and Blake was in the middle of actively seizing, which he had never done before. So his eyes were kind of back and convulsing, and that was the night that changed our lives. We were hopeful he's just going to have one, and it was going to be a one-time one-off thing and it wasn't gonna happen again, and so it did.
User error, my bad.
He was diagnosed with epilepsy about 2 weeks after he had had that first seizure, because he ended up having, another one. Once we got that first initial diagnosis, everything kind of just began piling up on top of it. I think it was about a year into the seizures that we were at a doctor's appointment with his neurologist. And for the first time, they had brought up the possibility of like passing in his sleep. We had never heard of how much kids with epilepsy are at a higher risk for having a seizure in the middle of the night and then just like stopping breathing. And so we left that appointment and it was like, what is it that we can find to give us that peace of mind? And that's how we found it. We decided to get a service dog for peace of mind for us especially, but also for the opportunities we know that a service dog can do for Blake. Barnett is trained to alert us to like seizures. And so he knows through scent, but also through Blake's movements, that Blake is actively seizing. Blake's seizures are only at night. They are never during the day. Having Barnett is gonna relieve the fears that we have at nighttime that Blake is actively seizing and we're not there to help. Blake has been telling us I need him over, so which is fantastic because never has he really been one to notice that he is having a hard struggle and he needs that assistance. And so we put Barnett over Blake's legs, and for the first time ever, he said, I'm all back now. I'm ready to go.
You. But then I think I have like one more slide. Not fast. Oh, are you playing the other one?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. It's I think it's this like couple down. The 4 Paws for Ability. Yeah, that one's really short.
Nestled in the heart of Ohio, 4 Paws for Ability is a nonprofit founded in 1998 with the mission of enriching the lives of people with disabilities by placing life-changing service dogs. 4 Paws for Ability has placed over 1,700 service dogs that serve children and veterans with disabilities, all specially trained to meet the unique needs of its partner. From the day 4 Paws puppies are born, their career begins in the puppy enrichment program before becoming service dogs in training on the path to their new family. As one of 120 service dogs 4 Paws places nationwide each year. 4 Paws for Ability is dependent on the support of its 70 employees, 2,000 volunteers, and the donors that make our mission possible.
All right. So all of that being